Alright, so with the Google Pixel 10 pretty much here, there's probably a ton of people out there who are curious as to whether or not they should upgrade to Google's latest and greatest smartphone or go for last year's Pixel 9, which still comes with some pretty compelling features that they might want to check out. Now, if you're one of those people who are curious as to whether or not you should get the Pixel 9, then maybe this video will help give you some insight as to whether or not you should go for last year's Google Pixel flagship. Now, if you've been on the channel before, you've probably seen my video as to why I switched back to the Galaxy phones. And while I won't be switching for the Pixel 9 for this video, I just want to give you guys a balanced take on what you should expect if you ever decide to get the Pixel 9. With that said, let's get started. As always, my top reason for going with a Google Pixel smartphone would be the camera. Pixels are known for great point-and-shoot performance, and the Pixel 9 is no exception. It does feature a dual 50MP and 48MP main camera setup with a 10.5MP front camera, and for all intents and purposes, if you're after a smartphone that's really capable of getting great looking shots, then look no further than the Pixel 9. The camera setup on this one comes with some considerable hardware improvements over past Pixel models, along with some new software tricks that Google has added to the camera software. And as far as imaging quality goes, it just gets a lot of things right with regards to contrast, dynamic range, and the camera is definitely one of the biggest features that I miss since I now use the Galaxy S25. So yeah, another big reason to get the Pixel 9 is the length of software support. So Google does promise up to 7 years of software updates for the Pixel 9. So if you're one of those people who are upgrading from an older phone and just wants to keep their phone for several years down the line, then the Pixel 9 is an ideal choice, unlike with other brands which only come with maybe 3 or maybe 4 years of software upgrades. So that's another big consideration with the Pixel 9. Now, another standout feature of the Pixel 9, at least from my own experience when using it, is the display quality. It does come with a 6.3-inch OLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 2700 nits and a resolution of 1080 by 2424 pixels. Out of all the Pixel phones that I've used in the past, the Pixel 9 definitely comes with a lot of improvements. You no longer get the green screen OLED problem. Outdoor visibility isn't really an issue with this one. And overall, the sharp resolution as well as the relatively compact size make it ideal for portable entertainment, especially if you tend to watch a lot of Netflix, for example, on the go. So yeah, the display on the Pixel 9 is definitely one of the biggest standout features, at least in my opinion. Of course, on the software side of things, you also get some quality of life features, such as the very useful call screening function, spam filters for both messages and calls, and even a more accurate form of voice typing, which isn't really available on other Android phones. And it's software features like these that give the Google Pixel phone a more unique user experience. You are getting monthly software updates with this phone and occasional Google feature drops, so even newer software features will make their way to the Pixel 9. Now, one of the biggest reasons why you should get the Pixel 9, especially in this day and age, is the price. While it did launch starting at around $800 in the US, you can find it for a lot cheaper now, going for as low as $600 or maybe even $500 if you know where to look on third-party seller sites like eBay and maybe even Amazon sometimes. And if you're looking for a premium Android phone for not much cash, then the Pixel 9 is definitely an ideal option, especially now that it's going for much less than its original launch price. Now, with all that being said, the Pixel 9 is of course not a perfect smartphone, and there are some considerations to make if you're curious about this phone. Now, a lot of these reasons are part of why I switched over to the Galaxy S25, and one of these being the battery life on the Pixel 9. In earlier videos, I did say that the battery performance on this phone was pretty decent. I've gotten some decent screen time over the course of using the Pixel 9, but compared to other smartphones, like ones from Samsung or Xiaomi even, endurance is not the strongest point of the Pixel 9, as the Google Tensor chips are not the best when it comes to power management. This brings us to the second con in this video, which is the Pixel 9's thermal management. Now again, it's improved from older Pixel models, but the Pixel 9 is still not exempt from the heating issues that you usually get with Google smartphones. Now, to be fair, all smartphones do heat up, especially when gaming or charging or using data, but I've gotten considerably less heating issues when using Snapdragon powered phones like the S25 and the Poco F7 series compared to the Pixel 9, which tends to heat up even when just scrolling Reddit, for example. So it's situated situations like these that really bring down the experience for me, and of course it's something that you should consider as well. As for performance, the Pixel 9 will do terrific in day-to-day situations. I didn't really get any slowdowns or stutters or app freezes or forced restarts. In general, the Tensor G4 is a decent smartphone chip, but when it comes to benchmarks and gaming, there will be considerable differences, especially if you put it up against the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and especially the 8 Elite. And while the Pixel 9 will be capable of running most games on the Play Store, there are times when I do experience a bit of stutter on the phone when gaming, especially with higher graphical settings. And this also ties in with the heat buildup on the smartphone. And if you're looking for a smartphone that's ideal for gaming, then the Pixel 9 isn't really the best choice on the market. Now, going back to software, while it does get terrific software support and quality of life features, there are some shortcomings with the Pixel experience on Android. For example, the home screen. I've seen complaints where you can't customize some of the widget elements on the home screen, like the search bar, for example. And there are some features that Google still hasn't made available, like the ability to individually force apps to go full screen. You do get this feature on other Android skins like One UI and Oxygen OS. And when it comes to personalization, you just get a lot more options with third-party Android skins and launchers. So if you're really all in on customizability and changing the entire way that your phone looks, then you might be a bit limited with the Pixel 9. And last but not the least on the cons list is Google's habit of region locking certain features. So I have talked about this in other Pixel videos before, where I would bring my Pixel to a different country and some features will not be available outside of the UK where I bought my Pixels. And if you bought your Google Pixel outside a quote-unquote official supported region, then you're not going to have access to customer service or repairs or stuff like that, which is another factor to think about with this smartphone. Alright, so to sum things up, the Pixel 9 is terrific if you want a more affordable premium phone with a terrific camera and a generally user-friendly day-to-day device. However, for more hardcore users who really lean towards raw performance in gaming, for example, it's stuff like these that pushed me to go back to Samsung, although I wouldn't really rule out a return to Pixel devices someday. But yeah. Alright guys, so that does it for this video. Let me know your thoughts about the Google Pixel 9 in the comments below. Are you upgrading from a much older Pixel, or maybe you're switching brands? Sound off in the comment section. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.